Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, August 12, 2018. For the next few days, we'll continue to see significant fire potential impacts across much of the Great Basin. For today, we've got some wind lingering over Idaho and far western Nevada, with an increase in moisture moving up through the center of the Great Basin into southern and eastern Idaho and much of Utah. Storms will be on the wet side across the far south and get drier the further north you move. This pattern continues into Monday, with a mix of wet and dry thunderstorms over much of southern Nevada and Utah. And then by Tuesday, we'll see most of those storms transitioning to wet across the south and a mix of wet and dry over northern Utah. A pretty good complex of storms moved into this far southern tier of the Great Basin, producing some heavy precipitation there in the Vegas and southwest Utah areas. Some drier storms were observed further north along the higher elevations of central Utah. And we also did see a group of storms move into the east central Idaho mountains for some generally dry thunderstorms there. Large fires continue to be fairly active across the geographic area, while new initial attack is still on the lighter side, but has begun to pick up with some of the lightning moving into the geographic area. Shown here is the precipitation percent of normal for the past 14 days on the left and the past 60 days on the right. It's been quite dry for the last 2 weeks anyway, over Idaho and northern Nevada. The longer term trends are really kind of focusing on northern Utah and portions of northern Nevada for some of that more significant longer term drying. The hot dry ridge we've been under for the past week or so has really done a number on our fire danger indices. Here we can see our ERCs are above the 97th percentile for many of the stations across the northern half of the geographic area. If we take a closer look at a couple of our areas, western Wyoming here has seen a rapid rise in those ERC values over the past 5 to 7 days, where they're now pushing up on the 97th percentile and getting close to the historical maximums for the time of year. Over northern Utah, these values have been setting records for the past couple of days now, and here we're looking at the Wasatch Mountains where those values are above the 97th percentile. Here we're showing the sampled 1,000-hour fuel moistures for south central Idaho and a site in the northern Utah mountains. Both of these sites are showing the 1,000-hour values below the historical lows for the time of year. The satellite imagery for this morning is showing that very strong area of high pressure that's been sitting over the Great Basin start to move further east. We'll begin to see temperatures cool today, especially across the north and west, down from those really high maximum temperatures we've seen over the last couple of days. And as this high moves off, that low pressure trough along the Canadian border will continue to cause increased winds over Idaho and far western Nevada, and then also allow that moisture to move up into the center of the Great Basin, kicking off those mixed wet and dry thunderstorms. High-risk triggers have been issued for wind today over central and eastern Idaho, and for dry thunderstorms over northern Utah and northeast Nevada. Taking a closer look, we can see the higher wind speeds over eastern Idaho and western Nevada there, and then also the 24-hour precipitation expected with the heavier amounts, or the wetter storms, taking place over the southern Great Basin, with drier storms further north over northern Utah and northeast Nevada. By Monday, the wind speed should relax just a bit over Idaho, but we expect to continue to see those drier type thunderstorms over northern Utah, northeast Nevada, and into far southern Idaho. The stronger wind gusts on the image on the left are in reference to the outflow winds from the thunderstorms that develop mainly over Utah and Nevada. Those storms over Utah will begin to produce better precipitation, except over northern Utah and then northeast Nevada as well, where they'll be on the drier side once again. On Tuesday, a little bit more moisture continues to move into the Great Basin, which should help moisten up some of the storms. The high pressure ridge begins to move back over the Great Basin, and we'll see our temperatures increasing once again, and the winds will remain on the lighter side. Again, winds showing the strongest gusts are associated with thunderstorms that develop over Utah and Nevada. And then we can see the precipitation totals expected with these storms. The best chance for precipitation will be over the higher elevations of Utah, but we should see some of the storms begin to produce some precip also over central and northeast Nevada. The 3-day totals are shown here. Again, best chance for precip is over the higher elevations of Utah, with a little bit lighter amounts expected over northeast Nevada and along the Sierra Front. More of the same is expected on Wednesday as the high pressure ridge remains in place, but we'll see moisture underneath that ridge, resulting in some afternoon thunderstorms mainly over the higher elevations. We could see some of this moisture make it up into the higher elevations of Idaho by Wednesday. And by Thursday, we'll begin to see some drier air moving back into the western portions of the Great Basin, and that trend will continue into Friday as the drier air over California begins to make its way into the western Great Basin. The dry air mass really spreads across the geographic area for the weekend. 7-day precipitation totals are shown here. We're really looking for most of these totals to start to move in the short term this weekend, continuing into the middle of next week, moving up into Idaho by the middle of next week, and then drying for the weekend. The extended forecast for August 19th through the 25th is calling for above normal temperatures along the west coast, with below normal chances for precip mainly over the Pacific Northwest and the Idaho Panhandle. And the bulk of the moisture is going to remain south of the Great Basin. This concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.